Hello amigos, Dr. Doug here, BodyTrust 16. This is Taoism 101. Taoism. I am a Taoist. I have been a Taoist since I started studying Chinese medicine because Chinese medicine is based on the philosophy of Taoism. So I would say since the late 80s I've really taken it seriously, and it's largely due to Taoist philosophy that I have stopped worrying. I've learned to stop worrying. So I want to share this with you because really Taoist philosophy is all about improving your mental health, which means improving your Shen, clearing your Shen, as we say in Chinese medicine. First of all, Taoism is a philosophy, not a religion. There are people who try to make it into a religion. This is a perversion. It is not a religion. It does not address the afterlife. It is not about worshiping a person or praying to anybody. If you are religious, keep your religion. Taoism is merely a philosophy about mental health. It goes very well with religions. Taoism was constructed by somebody called Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. Same guy. About 300 BCE or 500 BCE, scholars aren't really sure, but he wrote a book called the Tao Te Ching. I recommend you get it. You're not going to read it in one sitting. It's full of wild information, paradoxes, the paradoxes of life, the yin and yang of the universe, the yin and yang that makes the world go round. Once you understand those paradoxes, and once you understand those opposites and how they fit together, you stop worrying and you stop hurrying. Maybe stop overeating. Who knows? So, it's the central concept of body trust, by the way, which is what I promote. That's Taoism. I want to read a quote from the Tao Te Ching. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. You just have to listen. That's what I do for people. I train people to listen to themselves. So it's anti-authoritarian. It's not about listening to somebody else. It's not about checking with the experts about how to live. It's about checking with yourself. It's simplicity. You don't need to study long tomes, big tomes, and pore over documents. It's simple. It's very simple. And the more you want, frankly, in life, the less you'll have. So it's all about simplicity of living. The mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders to. That's a quote from the Tao Te Ching. And I have come to realize that my peace of mind is worth more than anything, because that's the center of my health. My peace of mind is not worth sacrificing for anybody or anything. I liken it to watching a movie where I will feel all the emotions, think all the thoughts, but deep inside I know it's just a movie and I can walk out any time. Because I only control my thoughts. You know that your thoughts are the only things that you have total and complete 100% control over. You don't really control your body. You influence your body. You certainly don't control your emotions. This idea is pathological. Emotions are information, and they follow thinking. So if you keep thinking about the future and the past which don't exist, your emotions will be stagnant. They won't be flowing. They'll be stuck. And that's a recipe for misery. So Taoism gets you off of that. It teaches you to go with the flow of life. The words of truth are always paradoxical. Yin and yang are of equal value. Equal value. Most people in my culture, American and Western European, try to elevate yang to the highest pinnacle and denigrate yin. Can't do that. They're of equal value. And which brings up the idea, well, the fact that problems and solutions are of equal value. Ever hear anyone say that to you? Yes, they are. Problems are there for your growth. If you don't have problems, you're not going to grow very much. If you don't grow, you're going to die. You know, a flower is either on the way up or on the way down. It looks stationary, but it isn't. It's either growing or it's dying. So we want to keep growing because that's how we stay alive and healthy. So we need problems. So every time you have a problem, thank the universe that you have that problem, because that's there for your benefit. It's there for your learning, for your growth. So all problems have solutions, and all solutions have problems. So next time you have a success, yay, congratulate yourself, but realize that's not the end of it. There's going to be problems that flow from that success, and be ready for them. That's all. Keep your eyes and ears open to the present, to the moment, and you'll never be caught off guard, you see. I have a book that I want to recommend. There are a lot of books of Tao of this and the Tao of that. I recommend the Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Huff. It's available everywhere. It never goes out of print. It was the one book, learning Chinese medicine, that changed me on the inside and helped me become a Taoist. Because the Pooh Bear is a simple little creature. He doesn't even know how to read and write. He's not real smart, but he is in the moment. Like all wild animals. All wild animals are in the moment. And animals generally are in the moment. And children are in the moment. And pre-industrial people live in the moment. Even when you go back in history and look at Romans and Greeks and the ancient Chinese, they're much more spontaneous with their thoughts and emotions than we are, because they're more in the flow, they're more in the moment. So keep that big picture in front of you at all times too. The big picture gets you back to reality, gets you back to the present moment. You get all obsessed about these little this, that, and the other thing that's going wrong or going right. Well, stand back always, just like that movie. Stand back and look at the big picture, because that connects everything. That's one thing that Chinese medicine does. It helps us connect everything because it explains everything. So we do want to stay connected with the whole picture all the time. For an example, the Pooh Bear loves honey. His friend is having a party over on the other side of the forest. So he gets a jar of honey. He buys a jar of honey. And as he's carrying it through the forest, he looks at it and says, wow, I love honey. You know what? My friend won't mind if I have just a little taste. So he sits down and he starts to taste it. Wow, it's really good. And I'm really hungry. So he starts to eat more, and he eats more, and he gets completely carried away and completely empties the jar. So what would you do in that situation? What would you do? Oh, woe is me. Oh my God. You'd be all in the future or the past, wouldn't you? Well, he says, look at this. This is an amazing storage jar. I'm going to give my friend a storage jar. So he arrives at the party, gives his friend this jar, and his friend says, wow, what a great storage jar. Thank you so much. I'm going to tell you another story about being in the moment and refusing to throw your hat in the ring, or to throw yourself all the way over here, all the way over there, and lose your peace of mind. There was a farmer. He was known as a fairly wise man. This is back in China, 1,000 years ago. He's a Taoist, though. One morning he woke up and went up to his corral, and there was a horse, an amazing horse, a stallion, friendly, and just wandered in at night. Had no markings, no brands, no bridle, nothing. Where'd this horse come from? Wow, everybody was amazed. So all his neighbors in the village came over and congratulated him and said, wow, what a great thing this is. And he said, well, yeah, it seems like a pretty good thing, but to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure if it's good or bad. And they said, are you crazy? This is a gift from heaven. You should be on your knees thanking the gods. And walked away, just couldn't, shaking their heads. Well, a week went by, and his teenage son was out riding on the horse. And the horse saw a snake and reared up, and the boy fell off and broke his leg. They carried him back to the farmhouse. The bone setter came and put a cast on his leg. Said, you're going to be laid up for a couple of months. You'll be all right, but you're going to be sitting around waiting for this to heal. So all the neighbors came over and they commiserated with the farmer, and they said, you were so right. You're so wise. You said that was a bad thing, and you were right. The farmer scratched his head and said, well, it's not exactly what I said. I said I wasn't really sure. And to tell you the truth, I'm still not sure if it's bad or good. Seems bad. And they said, are you nuts? This is a demon. This horse is a demon. It's a devil. You better get rid of it before it destroys your whole family. And they just walked away shaking their heads again. Well, a couple of months went by, a month actually, and a warlord was bringing his army through that area and forcing all the young men to join to go fight in a war, a battle 200 miles away. So they sent press gangs through all the fields and all that farmhouses. And when they came to the farmer's house and saw this boy with a cast on his leg, he said, well, we can't use you. You stay here. And they took all the young men and left, and the whole village was in mourning. And they all came over to congratulate the farmer on what a lucky thing this was. What a lucky omen that horse was. You were right from the beginning, they all said. That was a good thing. We were wrong. You were right. And the farmer just had to laugh. He says, you're not hearing me. I didn't say that. I said it looked like a bad thing, a good thing. But you know, to tell you the truth, I'm still not sure if it's good or bad. And they thought, well, this guy's really whacked out. So that story goes on, and that's the way life is. Don't sacrifice your peace of mind for anything or anybody. Just keep your eyes and ears open to take advantage of whatever comes down. And you can handle whatever comes down, can't you? It's just another thing I tell myself. I've been around a long time, and I've been through a lot of problems, and I'll get through this problem too. Even though it looks pretty bad, I don't know that it's really bad, and I will get through it. So, I'd like you to stay tuned and watch this interview on Yin and Yang by Joel Penner, a friend of mine, and me 6 years ago. Sound isn't the greatest, but hang with it. There's a lot of great information about Yin and Yang, which is the basis of Taoism. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Welcome to American Dragon Presents Chinese Medicine in America. My name is Joel Penner.
And I'm E. Douglas Kine.
We're both doctors of Oriental medicine and California licensed acupuncturists and herbalists. We're also both professors of Oriental medicine who have been teaching this subject in acupuncture schools throughout Southern California for almost 20 years. The purpose of this video is to present the principles and concepts of Chinese medicine to the English-speaking public. With that said, Doug is our presenter for today, and he'll be speaking on the subject of the nature of yin and yang. Doug?
Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.
Yin and Yang is a brilliant place to start when we're talking about Chinese medicine, because it's based on Yin and Yang. And the theory of Yin and Yang goes way back, of course, goes back into the mists of time. At least 2,600 years ago we know about it, and we're pretty sure it goes back 1 or 2 more thousand years before that. And the theory of yin and yang really encompasses the entire universe. It's about the entire universe. It explains the entire universe through a duality of qualities. And we call those qualities yin and yang. We can explain everything. And if we can explain things, then we can begin to predict things. And that's very helpful in medicine. And we can also change things. So we use the theory of yin and yang to make people better and to heal their wounds and heal their diseases. When we're talking about yin and yang, it's important to keep in mind that they are constantly changing. Yin and yang are not fixed entities. They are constantly evolving, and it shows up in this symbol that we see here on the screen, where yin and yang are in movement. That's very important. We're going to come back to that concept in a little while, this concept of constant change. Now, yin and yang, and the theory of yin and yang really is taken from my book, Chinese Medicine for Americans, which is found on my website. And you can, of course, purchase this book anytime you want. To really get going on yin and yang, we need to examine them in detail. And let's take a look at yin, for example. What does yin actually mean? Well, the character for yin in Chinese medicine, in Chinese language, of course, means shady side of the hill. Shady side of the hill. And of course, there's a sunny side to the hill, and that would be yang. But let's take a look at yin and shady side of the hill. When you look at the shady side of a hill, what do you find? You find molecules that are cooling and coalescing. Because when you add cold to anything, to any atoms, they're going to start slowing down and coalescing. And so that is what we find on the shady side of the hill. What we find is coolness or cold and material. Material, stuff, right? Everything that I'm touching is yin. And we got that by cooling down gases, essentially to form solid. So that's yin. Now on the sunny side of the hill, we find yang, and of course that is what the character in Chinese medicine for yang means. It means sunny side of the hill. What do we find there? We find movement and heat. Movement, of course, creates friction. And all that movement, all those molecules are running around, bumping into each other, excited, active. That's the sunny side of the hill. That is yang. Yang and yin, sunny side of the hill, shady side of the hill. Let's keep those in mind as we progress. I like to apply yin to substances and thoughts and, well, everything that in our daily lives that we encounter. I particularly like the subject of water. You know, everybody knows water and everybody feels water, and water is very common, very easy to understand. And I want to take water and I want to apply yang to it. When we apply yang to water, what do we see? We see molecules that are excited and moving and becoming steam, right? Water becoming steam means that yang has been applied to that water and has changed the nature of it. It has now evolved into something different, and that is steam. It's a gas. Okay. Let's take that same water and apply yin to it. What do we get? Well, we get coolness, coldness, and material. Instead of a fluid, if you put enough yin in that, it becomes a solid. And then we call that ice. Right? Ice is water that has had yin applied to it. We're clear on that. I want to make sure everyone's clear on that concept before we go on. All right, very good. Now, we can apply the concept of yin and yang to a lot more things besides water. In fact, to everything. Everything in the universe. So, for example, I'm going to look at some concepts, some opposites, and we're going to decide if they're yin or if they're yang. So, for example, the sun and the moon. One of those would be yang, and one of those would be yin. Which one would be yin, Joel?
The moon, of course, would be yin.
The moon, of course, would be yin.
It's out at night.
It's out at night, right? Where it's dark, where it's cool, where it's quiet. Moon, yin. Sun, sunny side of the hill, right? Heat, movement, noise, light. Sun, yang.
Really important, really clear concepts to be able to differentiate between yin and yang. Slow and fast. Slow is yin. Fast is yang. The tortoise is yin. The hare is yang. How about mountain? There's a mountain and there's mist swirling around the mountain. Now, this is an old Chinese concept that's used to illustrate yin and yang. But it works. That mountain is material. It's substance. Its molecules come together. And the mist, well, that's very wispy. That's yang. You can't take that mist and put it in a bottle. You can't do that with yang. It's misty, it's wispy, it comes and goes very easily. Quiet and loud. Loud would be yang. Quiet would be yin. Earth and sky. It is said that yin composes the earth and the sky or heaven is composed of yang. And of course air is up there and dirt is down there. That's material and movement. And of course lower or down, that would be yin, and upper or up, upwards towards the heavens, that would be yang. Weak and strong. Strong is yang, weak is yin. We need both, don't we? We need both. Protective, yang. Nourishing, yin. Direct, yang. Indirect, yin. Transparent, yang. See right through it. Opaque, blocked, that's yin. Inside, outside, which one is yin?
Inside, obviously.
Inside is yin, outside is yang. Dark and bright, we already said that, right? Dark is yin, bright is yang. Night is yin, day is yang. Down and up, ice and fire. Ice is yin, fire is yang. And now one last one that I don't want people to take as synonyms of yin and yang, although they often are in common Western thought, and that is male and female. Male is yang, female is yin. But of course, men and women are all mixtures of all of that, so we don't want to stereotype anybody with using yin and yang theory.
And that also, Doug, is represented by the Tai Chi symbol, where you have the major yang, which is the white, and the major yin, which is the dark. But within those, we have a light circle, a white circle, and a dark circle. That's the yin within the yang, and the yang within the yin. And that's true for human beings also. Every human being, whether they're masculine or primarily yang, has yin within, and females who are primarily yin have yang within.
And it can change. Of course, that dot can be great big or it can be real small.
Right. Everything is always in
That's
motion.
right. That's right. And that's a really good point, because we're not chasing purity in Chinese medicine. You can get that out of your head now. We're not jumping on the purity bandwagon. We're not cleansing until someone's pure. We're balancing. Right? We balance people. We balance yin and yang. We want yin and yang to be just about right, just about even there. And that makes for a healthy person.
And in Western terms, that would be considered homeostasis.
Homeostasis, fancy word, 75-cent word, it's true.
Balance of yin and yang.
Balance of yin and yang. Now let's take yin and yang and apply it to some medical health concepts, just so we can bring that down to earth. Okay. Chills and fever. Chills are yang. Fever is, I'm sorry, chills are yin. Chills are yin. Okay, that's an outtake, right? Chills are yin. And fever is yang. Fat and skinny, really important concept in America. Got a lot of fat people here. Of course, that excess weight, what is that? That's material, right? That's yin. That's yin, whereas skinny, really skinny, that would be yang. And we do find that really skinny people usually really moving around a lot of movement, a lot of heat. Heavy and light, heavy and light. Heavy is yin, light is yang. Watery and dry, there are watery health conditions, that's yin. and dry would suggest yang in comparison. Sleeping and wakefulness. Sleeping is yin, and wakefulness is yang. And of course, we know that when you're asleep, that's when your yin flourishes, and that's what nurtures your yang. Your yang comes out of the yin that flourishes at night. Whereas during the day, the yang commands the yin into place. It's the yang during the day that flourishes, and it tells all the molecules where to go. Go over here, go over there, make this up, do that, da 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 da. You see how they need each other in a very physical sense. Your yin and yang need each other every 24 hours. Instinct and intellect. Instinct, that's something you feel. That's something you're born with. That's yin. Intellect, that's something you develop. That's thinking. That's yang. And thinking and feeling. Thinking is yang. Feeling is yin. Waiting and acting. Waiting is yin. And of course, in a way, that's an action. And acting is yang. Pale tongue. Red tongue. Pale would suggest yin. Red would suggest heat, movement, fire, suggest yang. Slow pulse, rapid pulse. Slow pulse is yin. Rapid pulse is yang. Estrogen, testosterone. Estrogen is yin, testosterone is yang. Clear, profuse fluids. I don't want to gross anybody out here, but yellow, scanty fluids. Of course, yellow, scanty suggests heat, drying out fluids. Yang. Profuse, clear fluids, lots of yin, coolness, cold, etc. Depression and mania. Depression is yin, mania is yang. And then play and work, which we need both, right? We need both. We need play, yin, and we need work, yang. Okay, so those are everyday concepts. Some of them are health concepts, and it's important for us to understand those and be able to deal with those on a daily basis. Now, I want to turn to this lovely symbol that we have represented here once more on Joel's chest. And it is a representation of the duality theory of nature, which is yin and yang. First of all, it's a circle. The circle is complete. Contains everything. That's the universe. The circle contains, there's no corners over here getting left off or something. It contains everything. Everything is composed of yin and yang. And the two parts, you see the white part, the black part, they're equal. One is not bigger than the other. One is not more important than the other. They are equal, of equal importance and equal quantities in the universe. Now, yin and yang has this peculiar movement appearance, because that S in the middle, it suggests, it's like an optical illusion that this thing is moving, right? It just says movement. And of course, yin and yang are constantly moving. Constantly moving. So we have to constantly monitor yin and yang, and that, of course, is balance. That's what happens when you're balancing. Yin and yang are mutually antagonistic. They look like they're gobbling each other up, actually. If you look at it closely, it looks like one is eating the other, and then the other's eating the other, and they're eating each other's tails. They're mutually antagonistic. But at the same time, they're mutually supportive, because they need each other. They need each other to make that whole. And when they don't support each other anymore,
When there's separation, death.
that's death. That's the worst that can happen, is when yin and yang separate and don't need each other anymore. Goodness, what a world that would be, huh? Now, it wouldn't be a world. What if yin and yang become one another? That's another peculiar thing about this symbol. It looks like that black is becoming the white, and the white is becoming the black. And that's true of yin and yang. Yin is constantly becoming yang, and yang is constantly becoming yin. And that's just the nature of the universe. And then, like we talked about before, that little dot inside, there's a black dot inside the white, and there's a white dot inside the black. That's to remind us constantly that there's no such thing as pure yin, and there's no such thing as pure yang. I mean, even when you look at this knee, it looks pretty solid, doesn't it? It looks very yin. But if you look at that very closely with the microscope, you'll see atoms whirling around. You'll see all kinds of movement in here. Because that's not a pure block of solids, whatever. It is yin, but it's yang within yin. And that's the nature of the universe. So we want to keep things balanced. Now, there's an interesting correlation of yin and yang theory with modern physics. And that is Einstein's theory of relativity, symbolized in the formula E equals mc squared. E equals energy, m equals mass, and c equals velocity of light. So energy, what is energy? Energy is mass times the velocity of light squared. So in a certain sense, energy and mass are equated.
They are. There's an equal sign there.
There is an equal sign there. And in Chinese theory, of course, yang equals yin. Yang being E, energy, and yin being mass, substance, material. So even in Western physics, there is that correlation between yin and yang. Now what happens to us as we get sicker and sicker, bad things start to happen, of course. In this country, for example, we can get too much yang. Too much yang. Year after year, too much heat, too much movement, too much rushing around, not enough sleep, not enough slowing down. On and on, all of these heat factors can boost that yang to such a point that it starts to damage the yin. You see, if you carry excess yang for too long a period of time, what's going to happen to your cooling system? You're going to knock it out. That cooling system's going to get weak. And so then you have the situation of too much yang and not enough yin. Then it starts cascading. If you have a weak cooling system and too much heat, it starts cascading down and downward until the point where that yang that's supposed to be nurtured by the yin isn't getting nurtured anymore, and it starts to go down too. That's when people end up in the hospital near death. And as they approach death, that yin and yang becomes so wispy, they can't connect anymore. When they can't connect anymore, they separate, and that's death. Same thing can happen with excess yin, excess weight. In this country, that's how we see excess yin, is excess weight related to all kinds of bad problems, cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and a whole list of other things. Well, when you carry that excess yin year after year, decade after decade, it starts to really hammer the yang. And what you find is people having low energy, really low energy. And then the immune system, which is yang, really starts to take a dive. And then all kinds of problems happen when your immune system is too weak to handle invaders, tumors, and everything else. And so then that person can actually contract cancer, for example, end up in the hospital, lose all that weight, and have yin and yang deficiency, and then, of course, it's death. So we don't want, in this country, excesses of yin or yang to get out of control. And we're constantly chasing that tail. We're constantly chasing these excesses to keep them under control. So that is our little lecture or presentation on yin and yang. And the details of this, of course, there are more details in my book, which I encourage you to buy. It's online on my website.
All right. Great, Doug. Thank you. And that's it for today's class on the theory and principles of yin and yang. Thank you, Doug. We'll be back presenting the next chapter in this, which is what, Doug?
It's going to be 8 principles, and I think we're going to divide it into 2 parts because it's a pretty heavy subject.
Okay, 8 principles. So please join us again for the next installment of Chinese Medicine in America, presented by American Dragon. I'll say that in a different way. American Dragon presents Chinese Medicine in America. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. We understand that this is a lot of information to take in, and we know you'll have some questions. So please email us. You can email Dr. Kine at drkine@gmail.com or me, Joel at AmericanDragon.com. We'll be happy to answer your questions individually. If it's a frequently asked question, we'll answer it on video. Thanks again.
Hello, amigos. Please subscribe to my show and share it with your friends. Also, click that little bell so that you will receive notice every time I post a new episode.